Hey everyone, and welcome back. Are you ready to dive deep with us into the life and work of Ada Lovelace?
I am definitely ready.
I am too. Now, I think we all know the basics. Ada Lovelace, daughter of Lord Byron, often called the first computer programmer,
Nice.
but we are going to go so much deeper than that.
Yeah, way beyond that kind of surface level stuff.
Exactly. We've got some incredible excerpts from her Wikipedia page to help us along the way.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I think you'll be surprised by how much more there is to Ada Lovelace than just those headlines.
I'm sure there is.
Okay, so let's start with her childhood.
Okay.
I mean, can you imagine being the daughter of Lord Byron? Talk about a legacy.
Wow, yeah.
But she never even met him.
That's right, and that's a pretty crucial part of her story, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Her mother was, well, let's just say she was determined to steer Ada away from anything that she saw as, like Byron-like madness.
Oh, yeah, she was very focused on logic and reason and all that.
Exactly.
It's almost like she was trying to create the anti-Byron,
Yeah, in a way.
But, this unusual upbringing actually played a huge role in shaping her intellect.
Oh, for sure.
She had access to some of the best tutors around, like Mary Somerville, who was a total rock star in the science world at the time.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so her education wasn't just about, avoiding madness. It was about actively cultivating her brilliance.
It sounds like they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, they definitely did. Okay, so now we get to the part everyone knows, Ada Lovelace, the first computer programmer.
Right.
Now, there is some debate about how much she actually contributed to the first program.
There is, yeah.
But one thing that's totally undeniable is her deep understanding of Charles Babbage's analytical engine.
Yes.
Which was basically a precursor to the modern computer.
Right.
And her notes on this analytical engine are just incredible.
Really? What's so special about them?
Well, they were 3 times longer than the original article she was translating.
Wow.
They're just packed with her own insights and ideas, going way beyond just the technical stuff.
That's amazing.
It's clear that she really grasped the potential of this machine in a way that even Babbage himself maybe didn't fully get.
Interesting.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting and where we really start to see Ada's unique genius.
Okay, I'm listening.
He didn't just see math as cold, hard numbers.
Right, she had that whole poetical science thing going on.
Exactly. She called it poetical science because she saw math as this language for exploring unseen worlds, this incredible tool for creativity and understanding.
I love that phrase.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a metaphor for her.
It wasn't.
No. There's this amazing quote where she compares mathematical transformations to sprites and fairies.
Seriously? That's wild.
I know. Can you imagine a modern-day programmer talking like that?
Not really. Haha.
Ada was in a league of her own.
She really was unique.
And this blend of logic and imagination, this poetical science approach, it was at the core of her scientific thinking.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it allowed her to see the true potential of computing in a way that, like I said, even Babbage maybe didn't.
Okay, so tell me more about that, about her vision.
All right, so this is where Ada's thinking takes off.
Right.
She understood that computers weren't just about crunching numbers.
Yeah, we take that for granted now.
Exactly, but this was revolutionary at the time. She saw that they could manipulate any symbols, opening up possibilities far beyond what Babbage had imagined.
She was basically laying the groundwork for modern computing.
Exactly, and get this, back in the mid-1800s, she was already speculating about computers composing music.
Wow, serious?
Something that wouldn't become a reality for another century.
That's incredible.
It really is, and it's not just some random idea she had.
Oh.
Remember those jacquard looms? The ones that used punch cards to weave intricate patterns?
Yeah, remember those?
Ada saw the connection between those punch cards and how the analytical engine could use them for calculation. She realized that if a loom could weave patterns, a computer could weave anything, music, text, even ideas.
So she saw computing as this incredibly powerful tool for creation, not just calculation.
Exactly. And it all stemmed from her understanding that computers could work with any symbols, not just numbers.
That's really remarkable, especially for that time period.
It really is. And this drive to understand how things work, how systems operate, it went even deeper for Ada.
What do you mean?
She was deeply interested in the workings of the mind itself, like how thoughts translate into physical actions.
Oh, wow. So she was already thinking about those big questions back then.
Oh, yeah, way back in the 1800s. And it led her down some pretty interesting paths.
Oh, I bet. Tell me more about that.
Well, she was fascinated by phrenology and mesmerism, which were considered cutting-edge science back then.
Phrenology and mesmerism, those sound a little, out there.
They do now, right? But
Yeah.
remember, this was the 1800s. Phrenology was all about studying the bumps on your head to understand your personality.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing about that.
And mesmerism was basically an early form of hypnosis.
It was all the rage back then.
It really was. So it just goes to show that Ada, while brilliant, was also a product of her time.
Of course.
She was curious about everything and wasn't afraid to explore unconventional ideas.
Right. And who knows, maybe those fringe interests actually influenced her scientific work.
That's a great point. Remember, she was obsessed with the workings of the brain and how thoughts and feelings were generated.
That's true. So maybe there's a connection there.
Exactly. She even wanted to create a mathematical model of how the brain works.
Wow, that's ambitious.
It really is. It was basically an early form of neuroscience.
Like she was trying to apply that poetical science approach to the human mind itself.
Right. She was trying to understand the essence of what it means to be human using math and logic.
It's fascinating.
It really is. And to think she was doing all of this centuries before we had the technology to even begin to address these questions.
She's a true pioneer.
Absolutely.
So where do we go from here? What else did she explore?
Well, there's this one thing that I found particularly intriguing.
What's that?
Ada had this unfinished project, a mathematical model of how the brain creates thoughts and feelings.
You mean her work on the nature of consciousness?
Exactly. It's like she was trying to crack the code of human consciousness using math.
That's incredibly ambitious.
It is. And it just shows how deeply she was thinking about these big questions.
Centuries before we had the tools to even scratch the surface.
I know. It makes you wonder what she could have achieved if she lived longer.
It really does.
What if she'd had access to the technology and knowledge we have today?
It's mind-boggling to think about.
It is. But even in her tragically short life, she accomplished so much.
That's for sure.
She didn't just leave behind a legacy. She planted a seed that would grow into the digital age we live in today.
And her work continues to inspire us today.
Absolutely. There's even a programming language named Ada in her honor.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's used by organizations like NASA and the Department of Defense.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. Talk about an impact that reaches far beyond her lifetime.
It's incredible.
And it's not just the programming language.
It's not.
No. There are awards, conferences, even colleges named after her.
All celebrating her contributions to science and technology.
Especially for women.
That's wonderful.
It is. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Oh, yes.
Her unique upbringing, the debate about her programming work, her incredible vision for computing, and her fascination with the human mind.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm already seeing Ada in a whole new light.
You too. But before we move on, I want to ask you, dear listener, what stands out to you from Ada Lovelace's story so far? Is it her unusual upbringing, her groundbreaking work on computing, or maybe her visionary ideas about the potential of technology? Take a moment to think about it. We'll be right back after a short break.
I can't wait to hear what everyone thinks.
Me neither. We'll be back soon to continue our depth dive into the world of Ada Lovelace.
It's amazing to think about, like all these seemingly fringe interests of hers. They might actually connect to her more, well, I guess, serious as scientific work.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, think about it. She was totally obsessed with how the brain works.
Right, how thoughts and feelings are made, all this.
Exactly. So maybe those interests in phrenology and mesmerism weren't just random,
They were all about understanding the mind.
Right. Like she was trying to find different ways to unlock the secrets of consciousness.
That's a really cool way to look at it.
And, it wasn't just theoretical for her.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't just sit around and think about these things. She actually tried to put her ideas into practice.
What do you mean?
Well, she really wanted to make a mathematical model of how the brain works.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah, like an early form of neuroscience.
So she was really trying to apply that poetical science approach to understanding the human mind itself.
Exactly. It's incredible how ahead of her time she was.
It really is. And it's not the only example.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, she even went so far as to visit this electrical engineer named Andrew Cross
What for?
to learn how to conduct experiments. She was trying to find connections between electricity and the nervous system.
Wow. She was really pushing the boundaries of knowledge.
She was a true pioneer.
It's kind of heartbreaking,
What is?
to think about what she could have achieved if she'd lived longer.
If she'd had more time.
Yeah. And access to all the tools and knowledge we have today.
Imagine Ada Lovelace with a modern lab and a team of scientists collaborating with her.
The possibilities are just, wow, mind-boggling.
They really are.
It's a question that a lot of people have thought about.
Yeah, what if she'd had those extra years to pursue her research?
To see her ideas come to fruition.
It's the ultimate what if, isn't it?
It really is.
But, even though her life was cut tragically short,
Way too short.
she managed to accomplish so much.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, just think about it. She didn't just leave behind a legacy.
Right.
She planted a seed that would grow into the entire digital age.
It's amazing to think about.
It really is, and her work continues to inspire people today.
It does.
There's even a programming language named Ada in her honor.
Wow, that's so cool.
It's used by all sorts of organizations like NASA and the Department of Defense.
Seriously.
Yeah. Talk about an impact that reaches far beyond her lifetime.
That's incredible.
And it's not just the programming language.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. There are awards, conferences, even colleges named after her.
All celebrating her contributions to science and technology.
Especially for women.
That's amazing.
It is. It's really inspiring to see how her legacy continues to grow and inspire new generations.
It really is.
So we've talked about her unique upbringing, her groundbreaking work on computing, her visionary ideas about technology, and her fascination with the human mind.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have, but there's one last thing I want to touch on before we wrap things up.
Okay, what's that?
It's something that I found particularly intriguing. Ada had this unfinished project.
An unfinished project.
Yeah, she was working on a mathematical model of how the brain creates thoughts and feelings.
You mean her work on consciousness?
Exactly. She was trying to understand the very essence of what it means to be human.
Using math and logic.
Exactly.
That's a pretty ambitious goal.
It is, and it really shows how deeply Ada was thinking about these big questions.
Centuries before anyone else.
I know. It makes you wonder what she could have achieved if she'd had more time.
What if?
It's a question that's both exciting and a little bit sad to think about,
I know what you mean.
But even though she didn't have the time to fully realize all of her ideas,
Right.
her work continues to inspire us today.
It does.
Ada Lovelace, mathematician, visionary, a woman who truly saw the poetry in science and the science in poetry.
Beautiful way to put it.
She was a true pioneer whose legacy encourages us to think bigger, bolder, and more creatively about the power of technology.
And to never stop exploring the unknown.
Absolutely. So what about you, dear listener? What does Ada Lovelace's story mean to you? What are your takeaways from all of this? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it really is kind of bittersweet, isn't it?
It is, but, even though she didn't have the time to, fully see her vision through,
Right.
she left behind a legacy that continues to inspire us, even today.
Oh, yeah,
It
absolutely.
makes you wonder, right? What if she had lived longer?
Oh, that's a great question.
What if she'd had those extra years to really dive into her research,
Yeah, to see where all her ideas would have gone.
Exactly. I mean, she was already connecting math and music and the human mind in such amazing ways.
Imagine if she could have kept going with that.
Right. Would we have AI decades earlier, different kinds of programming languages, maybe ones focused on creativity?
It's mind-blowing to think about.
It really is. But even though, like we said, she didn't have the time to really do everything she wanted, she still managed to leave such an incredible mark on the world. Ada Lovelace, mathematician, visionary, a woman who saw the poetry in science and the science in poetry.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
She was a true pioneer.
Totally.
And her legacy encourages us to think bigger, bolder, and more creatively about technology.
And to never be afraid to blend logic and imagination, like
Yeah.
she did.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Ada Lovelace,
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave you with this.
Okay.
Never stop exploring, never stop questioning, and never let go of that spark of poetical science in your own pursuits.
Because who knows?
Exactly. You might make some incredible discoveries yourself, inspired by Ada's amazing life.
Her story shows us that technology isn't just about ones and zeros.
It's not.
It's about a human spirit, the drive to understand ourselves and the world around us, and the endless possibilities of our imaginations.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll say goodbye for now, but keep diving deep, everyone.